Hey Chloe, Mrs. Vara here. I thought it would be easiest to just make a short video to answer your question. So this is your question that you're seeing on the screen. And I'm going to switch over to my camera here so I can walk you through this solution. So if those are your roots, so they tell you those are your roots. So you can think if you go backwards before you find your roots, your answer looks like this. So you're basically going backwards in, say, this process where you're finding the solutions for a quadratic. So you would factor this. And then you would set both factors equal to 0. In this case, they're the same. Should have made up a different example. But anyway, then you would solve and you would get your solution. So we're going backwards. So we have our solutions and we want to get to a polynomial. It looks like, judging on the answers, they leave it in factored form. So if you think about the step before this was where I had my factors set equal to 0, so I would add 3 to both sides, and I would get x plus 3 equals 0. So x plus 3 is one of my factors, which I think is what they had. Now, these solutions with the I, remember they're usually the result of quadratic formula. And if you think of quadratic formula, it has a plus or minus. So these, I'm just going to call them I solutions, always come in pairs. So if you have a positive one, you also have a negative one. So they always come in pairs. So now I'm going to go backwards here. I'm going to minus 2i from both sides. And I'm going to get x minus 2i equals 0. And here I'm going to add 2i to both sides. And I'm going to get x plus 2i equals 0. Now remember, normally what we do is we multiply all of our factors together to get our polynomial. So these factors, I'm going to multiply together. We call these complex roots because they have that I in them. So I'm going to multiply this. So I'm going to multiply first times first. I get x squared. I don't know what method you used for multiplying, but basically I have to multiply this x by both of these and this negative 2i by both of these. I like to do first and then multiply the two outsides. So that would get me plus 2xi. If I multiply the two insides, I get minus 2xi. And if I multiply the last two, positive and a negative gets me a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. I times I is I squared. Now, the reason I like to do first, outside, inside, last, it's called FOIL, first, outside, inside, last, is because when you do that, notice these two inside terms are like terms. I can combine these because they have the same variables. Well, I have 2xi and negative 2xi, so those add to 0. So I'm left with x squared minus 4 times I squared. But remember, I squared is equal to negative 1. So I'm going to replace the I squared with a negative 1. So I'm going to have x squared. I'm minusing a negative 4. That's the same as adding. So I'm going to have x squared plus 4. So that's where that other factor comes from. And then don't forget this factor we had up here, which is x plus 3. And I believe that is what they had for their answer. Yes. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if it doesn't.